Reports of officers, redistricting maps. That was Kelly's. And she's not here. I say, let's give her a little bit more time and we'll jump to B. Is that okay? Okay, I think between Emily and I, we might be able to address some of it, but Kelly is the key person. So the econ working group we had a group hike / site visit over to the Sand Hill site. Heath, do you want to say a few comments about that and also our meeting afterwards? We had about an hour-and-a-half meeting afterwards.
I don't have much to say. It was a pretty productive field trip, and I think we should do some more field trips. And we had a meeting after that at the Starbucks over there and talked about different options for acquiring that property.
Okay. We haven't really, it's part of my fault. I'm sorry. We didn't do much in October. Did you have any time to work on the project timeline or any of the paperwork?
Yeah, I've been making updates to the paperwork. I would consider it to be behind schedule at this point. But I have done some updates. They're on the shared drive.
Okay, do you want to just give us a briefing on what you've done on the project timeline and the status report and any thoughts about what we need to be doing? And we are going to talk about when we break out about trying to set up some meetings for the upcoming month, and we can use that to catch up on items.
I think we need to define the objectives of the project, or have people in the group identify objectives that they can contribute to and make the contributions.
Okay.
That's the primary deficit I'm seeing is we don't have the objectives correctly addressed and the right people working on them.
Okay. That's a great observation, and so we'll talk about that in the breakout.
Yeah.
Address that this coming month. Somehow I got carved time out, sit down and work towards with everyone else. And we had an election yesterday. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but that is one less thing off our table. And I think Austin has that off his table too. So, and I got to actually know where Austin meets because I knocked his door.
Yeah, that was a great surprise. I said, nope, I've already got a sign for her in my yard. I'm all set.
And like, oh wait, I know you. Oh, okay. That's pretty much okay. The map of location is kind of a leftover from the last one. We know where that Sand Hill is and what we're looking at, which is the Ryboat Ranch. Anna, do you have anything to shoot with us? It's down there somewhere, I think.
Well, after our field trip, I sent several emails with information that we discussed in the post-field trip meeting, including an article from Growth Spotter, which is a little sub magazine of the Sentinel that described where the progress was on the developer side on this property. Did anyone read that attachment I sent? It was a PDF.
Is that the one that was, it was like, I guess the latest is about a year and a half old on that?
No, it's not a year and a half old. That's part of, I guess. I
thought that was, okay, maybe.
It's a few months old.
Okay.
And basically the map of the desired parcels and all of who's the developer and all, it's all laid out in that article.
Okay.
And the thing is with Florida Forever and Green Place, both, as we discussed during the field trip and after, it's a complete non-starter if we don't have a willing seller. And if you read that article, you will see just how far down Yellow Brick Road the seller has gone with this developer. At this point, to redirect the seller to a goal to preserve, I think is almost a fantasy. Because I'm sure that developer isn't working for free. And if you read the article, it has a map and explains everything. And so no matter what we do on this project, if we don't have a willing seller, it's moot. And right now, I don't see,
Who is the seller?
I mean, it's whoever is on the, when we look together at the property appraiser information, that's the seller.
Yeah, Ryboat sold it to Dallas company, I think.
But all of that is who the seller is and all that is all described in that article. So really, if you don't even read any of the other emails, read that article. I created a PDF so that you don't have, the thing is I had to buy a subscription in order to read it.
I'm sorry, I missed that if I was on that email.
Yeah, I sent it to everyone. It's a PDF attachment, but it spells out everything.
Oh, you
And
sent
the
that
thing-
back on the 7th, didn't you? The Sustany development article?
It was right after, a few days after our field trip. And pretty much once I read that, I kind of redirected my volunteer time to other things. Because
Yeah, I did read that.
I don't see how it's even possible if we got to have a willing seller and we don't.
We just gotta, I guess, discuss these because I didn't take away the same interpretation.
No,
So,
I mean, I mean, I don't think you want to get too pessimistic. They got a pie in the dream, they got a pie in the sky dream. They haven't gotten any okays yet. So if we get enough people in the community upset, it's happened before in this county that developers have these big dreams and the local residents come out in force and they change the dreams based on the politics. I mean, they might have spent money on it, but they're gonna write it off. They're gonna make money still because they're gonna.
But I mean, but the bottom line is the seller. It's not even the developer.
Okay.
The seller needs to be willing. And there's no indication anywhere that that's the case.
Well, if we get 400 or 500 people in every public meeting and have, Emily had to stay up until 3 in the morning and all the other commissioners, it does change minds. I've seen it happen. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
The
think-
only minds that needs to change is the seller, because we can't do anything.
well,
There's no forward motion without a willing seller.
This
the way,
is Joel, if I may.
Joe, go ahead.
As far as restrictions in regards to this PDF and the documents you guys have reviewed, has anybody read the deed? If there's any deed restrictions or easements that run with the land?
I know the developer has, 100%. There's no doubt about it. That article is very clear about their entire approach. And this is not a unsophisticated developer, like at all. 100% they've done due diligence and they've crunched the numbers a million times. And if we don't have a willing seller, it's just simply not going to happen.
so why hasn't the property closed yet?
Well, I would definitely say that, I don't know who wants to do it, but Eugene, someone needs to meet with the landowner.
I don't
And-
have, that's part of the
and
thing. I
possibly-
have no personal connection with who the seller is. So in our discussions and in our field trip, it didn't seem like anyone else did either. But the developers clearly spent plenty of quality time with that seller. And they've moved forward on all this stuff. So there's a ton of investment on the developer side with the seller.
Yeah, I
And-
know Kelly has some of their contact information because years ago we were meeting with them before. So
So-
we have their contact information. We just have to.
So I
Well,
guess
After,
I was gonna say, well, thank you first of all for the research and sending out that PDF. I must have missed it as well. But I think from what I understood is, trying to make the point that it's a willing seller. So I think it's a valid concern. Why haven't we just
I feel like we're doing a lot of reports and a lot of kind of stuff, but research, I don't want to get stuck in a research phase either. Can we just go out there and like feel them out, go knock on some doors, or how?
Well,
I don't have
maybe
any
we should-
personal connections. So I agree, that's a great idea. I can't commit to doing that because I don't know who they are. So
I don't know anybody either, but I mean, if we got to just go knock on some doors, or is there a more sophisticated way to do it? But yeah, I think maybe we should already be having a conversation and at least feel them out, or, maybe it's a maybe, or like maybe we are kind of wasting our time if they're absolutely.
I don't
kinda
think
no.
we're talking about the same property, because I thought that 625 acres, we weren't looking at that because that's like $15 million, and we're. I
they're
thought
all owned by, it's all part of the same, this is why there's a map on that article. And it absolutely shows the property that we're
Yeah.
trying to, is our focus.
the one that's contiguous to the already conservation land.
Look at the map on the article.
okay, what my suggestion is maybe I need to get with Kelly and maybe Emily. Emily, do you know these folks? Have you ever met them?
I know who it is, and I have met them.
So-
But because this might come before me on the board, I would prefer if Eugene and Kelly met with them.
Okay, so I would like to talk to you, Emily, and offline with Kelly and strategize what the best way is to approach these, since you know these folks. And we'll come up, I think that would be the best thing, instead of just arbitrarily walking up to them. I need some information on who they are. Man, I don't, believe me, I mean, you guys have to believe me that we've done this before where we disabled developers through the political process. Because they have to get the permits. And the politics are such that we could, as long as they don't get any threshold stuff that causes us problems from Burt Harris and other things, the public can win this. It just,
Yeah, I know. We wanted over here in Winter Park. They wanted to build a hotel on Lake Clarney. We stopped that, or they're going to reconfigure it to smaller. It's not being built. And we also stopped the Magruder Eye Institute over there with complaining. So yeah, it works.
yeah, and they also.
But the issue in Winter Park was not one, there was no purchase. There wasn't a purchase required with that transaction.
Well-
So this is kind of different. And
It
also
is.
that was City of Winter Park jurisdiction.
You're right. It's
So-
different, but it still shows, to Eugene's point, that public outcry can stop this.
I mean,
Well, but without money, it won't. It absolutely won't. And both of the grant sources that we've discussed start with a willing seller. There's no discussion about preparing an application or any of that, none of it. Complete
But-
non-starter without a willing
We still
seller.
have a seller. The property hasn't been sold yet, so we're not locked out.
No, it's currently owned by someone. They need to sell it willingly. They need to want.
Is it owned by the developer?
They need to want.
Is
the-
it
to
owned by the
wait.
developer?
Well-
It hasn't been bought by the developer.
Then it's not lost because we still have a chance to buy it if the developer hasn't bought it yet.
this is real, okay, excuse me, let me just say something. This is real typical that a developer comes in on a piece of property, farmland typically, they put a clause in there that if they get the permits through, then they will buy the land. Otherwise, it goes back to square one. So the seller wants to make money. That's all they care about. And that's what we need to find out. What is their price line? Is it within reality? And based on the reality of the politics, will be somewhat what the price point is, because the public does weigh into this. We've stopped development way farther than this. I've seen buildings built, marinas built, and the state has walked in and bought the property. You can go
It's
down,
not just the price though, Eugene.
$400 million was a Key Largo property in the late 80s that we bought as a state. It's now called the Key Largo Botanical Preserve, right there in Key Largo. That has marinas inside it to this day. So
It's not just the price though, because both Green Place and Florida Forever, in order to go through the application cycle and when we're talking years before this seller would get the money. So
Well,
that's another thing as far as a sales pitch to the seller to become willing. We're going to pay you less and you're going to have to wait for the money.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's that slow. I mean, Emily, have you seen Green Place move that slow?
I seen what?
Have you seen Green Place move at a snail's pace to pay out after they make a offer? They got
We haven't had any Green Place purchases in over 20 years. But when we do purchases, I mean, it doesn't take long for them to get their money.
I mean, with the property just bought on the econ, have they been paid yet?
I don't know. I'd have to check with that because we just approved it, and so I'm not sure.
The
Yeah.
other thing, Eugene, is that I also saved a spreadsheet that I created that lists all the parcels and their market rates and sums them. So essentially, if we bought all the parcels, it's about $24 million. Even if we bought only part of them, you have to understand Green Place, the entire budget is $100 million. And for one project, for one project to suck more than 10% of the entire budget, I'm skeptical that that's even realistic.
Well, we need to learn from Green Place. Let's say Green Place fronts the money and acts as the land purchasing program. We might be able to get money reimbursed from the water management districts and others. We haven't explored any of those options. So there might be ways that we can get reimbursement. So it might be $24 million, but then we might be able to get 50% of it back from water management or Florida conservation lands or something, because that's how we've done it in the past where different agencies have come in and bought the property.
Well, Florida Forever is definitely not reimbursement. That is not the way it works. And we went through the application cycle, and the next application that we could even submit in best case scenario is I think next April. And then it takes them 6 months to even evaluate it. And then another 6 months for them to fund it. And then another 6 months before they cut a check.
Yeah, I understand that yes, I fully understand the Forever Florida bureaucracy. What I'm saying is we use Green Place money first place, and then we go for reimbursements. I mean, the Nature Conservancy does this. They buy the land out front and they sell it again to the state. So we sort of have to do something like that. I mean, we still haven't even talked to the brains farting here. The Nature Conservancy or the Florida Trust people, the NGOs out there, to see maybe they have ideas how we could do this. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's a throw, but people want to stop this development. There's only one way to do this is stop it by buying it. Otherwise, just be happy with the development.
I mean,
Okay, so I'm going to let you guys discuss this in your work group.
Yeah, let's move.
But I'm checking right now real quick the parcel just so you can have the information. It was sold in 2014 for $15 million. It's about 600 acres to Rolling R Ranch, which is the Dallas company. There's still a lot of the land though that it's owned by the previous owner. The buyers were Lake Pickett North LLC, but the original owners, Rolling R Ranch, they still own a lot of the property.
Around it.
So they own like about half of the property still. So the developers don't own the whole thing. They own about, I want to say like 45% of it. So the rest of it, I'm assuming, is under contract based on whether they get the development approved or not before they'll purchase the rest of it. So that is the status of the ownership of the property.
Okay, so. I mean,
So,
I think we need to discuss this offline, and I'll talk to Emily about meeting the owners, and we'll strategize. I'll come back to the group and tell you what the thought is and see what people think. So let's just move on.
Just
Go
real quick, I on just that point, really quickly, if we can get the willing seller, that's the easiest path instead of everything else. But I think let's just feel that out first.
Yeah, I agree.
I
So,
did save a bunch of documents up there on the shared drive.
okay,
So,
thank you. Very, very good. The other thing was, I did speak to David Riley about the Green Place. I haven't heard anything. I put my application, Anna, did you put an application into the Green?
I did, and I haven't heard anything.
Okay, I guess we gotta go to the membership website and see if they acted on it yet. So
I
I'm,
think there's a financial disclosure, bunch of protocols that if, before it actually goes to Emily and her team for approval. And the fact that that's not been requested of me, I don't know, they might already have your information, Eugene, because you've served on boards before, but
Yeah.
because they haven't asked me for anything, I don't know what's happening, whether they just haven't asked anyone or whether they've already ruled me out. I don't know.
well, the financial form that I got was very simplistic compared to what I had in the government, the federal government. So I mean, basically, if you own your house and own, normal stuff, you have nothing to declare. It's only if you have a bunch of business interests.
Yeah, I understood, but they haven't asked it from me. That's my point, is it's not even been requested. They acknowledged receipt of my application, but that's it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how fast they're moving.
yeah, that's all you're gonna get right now. So it's the MMRB that does the appointments, and Gabriel could check to see when that is going to be on their agenda. Or if they've already voted. If you're not picked, you really don't hear from anybody. And even
Yeah, so-
before
yes.
being picked, you don't hear from anybody. Like
Oh,
when you
really?
get picked is when you hear from someone, and the application is just super, super simple.
Oh, I thought that they would request before recommending that you fill out
No,
that, no?
just
Okay.
whatever you fill out online for the application.
Okay,
That's it.
okay.
So did
So
you
I haven't
guys
heard
apply
anything.
on the website, on the county website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Both-
yeah,
both
so
of
that's all
us-
you have to do right now. Just wait. If you want, you could try to get the phone number for the liaison of the board, and kind of make your case before they meet. You could try that.
Well,
Well, I mean, I thought it was actually Jeff Benavides, and I already I know him, so if it's someone else, I don't know, but
actually, Jim,
Okay, well, we'll have Gabriel will look up when that gets on the agenda and who's choosing and all that information. That way you guys have at least a liaison that maybe if you want to call and say, hey, I really want this position, and sell yourself. At least you have some more information, because it looks like we do need some more data
Okay.
on that.
yeah, I think actually Jimmy Affont is the leader of that, so he's kind of a little busy right now too. So I suspect they're moving slow right now.
Okay.
I'll-
I did hear from Kelly. She said she's coming in. She probably is having as many problems as the rest of us getting in right now. But I did want to, Jean, did you get through the that section? I just want to express too, perhaps during these meetings, as it's kind of, these are just for really updates of what's going on in the work group.
Yeah.
That maybe we just kind of do a quick briefing, any questions or more research that you need that, me or Gabriel can assist you with, but then the fuller discussions that you guys need to have, that you have that in your work groups. Because
Okay.
these are, like, has to be going a little bit faster.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right.
I agree, Emily. And we'll
Okay, let's,
try our best to keep it to the point and keep this subgroup discussions in our group.
okay, we're gonna
I
break.
have to leave at 7, so sorry, but I wouldn't have been able to share anything if it had been after that.
Okay, we will have a meeting definitely later, and we'll set it up and we'll do a doodle for that. Let's move on to the UCF corridor. Austin?
Sure, yeah, I can provide an update for this. A few things as far as the documents go. One, there is a policy proposal document that I've uploaded. It's about 20 pages long. It's fairly thorough in there. There's also a summary of parts of it that pertain to the sort of development side, meaning not the transportation side. That's included. You can see number 2, sub item A there, that project presentation. And that's what we walked through with Eric Roche. I think that's how you say his last name. One of the planning leads at Orange County back in October. So our update is around centered around that. We had a very good conversation with Eric where we walked him through what we were thinking, what would be possible here, what are the obstacles. And we really walked through what we talked about last time on this with this larger group, which is a kind of big, bold, and reimagining visionary idea of what that area could look like, right? High density, mid rises, walkability, transit for those students that can just all stay right in there, so that UCF sprawl doesn't continue to move eastward. We talked through a lot of that. Where I think, and this is in the policy proposal, is actually what the next steps here would be. I think there's two ways to think about how we could approach this project. One is, and Eric pointed us to some work that they did. This is College Park, Maryland, when it mentions College Park here. Some work that they did in College Park, Maryland, to do kind of exactly what we're all talking about here. It was a not very walkable, a lot of pedestrian safety issues in the area, a lot of sprawl was going on in Maryland. College Park is where University of Maryland is at. And it didn't feel like a college town. And that meant that students and traffic were sprawling outwards and interrupting traditionally residential areas. And so what they did was they formed this vision behind it, and they pulled together the local city councilors and county commissioners, and the mayor of that area. They got involved. The state transportation department, the state got involved. Of course, University of Maryland was really involved there. And they all got together and put a stake in the ground and said, we are collectively going to work together to totally rethink this area for a lot of different reasons. And that was a multi-year process, but it was sort of putting the stake in the ground at the beginning to say, we are bringing all these groups together to rethink this. And then they did it over the course of several years. So that's the big idea here. In the more immediate term, Eric had a good suggestion, which was that, and I don't think I realized this, maybe others did, that Orange County today does not have, and one other thing I should add too, is a big piece of this vision, as we talked about last month, was mixed use, right? It should be so that students can live and work and go to school all in the same area and not have to use a car and drive all over the place and all things like that. So Eric told us that Orange County does not have a mixed use zoning code, that there are no plots of land anywhere in the county that are just by right mixed use. You can build housing or you can build retail or commerce, but you can't build both by right. You have to go get an amendment to the future land use map and do a plan development there. There's some ways around it. They've done some interesting stuff in Horizon West around that, but an intermediate step might be to work with the planning staff to build out some zoning maps that allow that sort of development, that they can build retail on the bottom floor to provide some areas for students to live there. Because right now, if you go down University, it's a Del Taco and a Four Rivers and a Chipotle, right? And instead of those, can we put 4 floors of student housing on top of them so they can all stay there on University Boulevard? That's at least like the sort of intermediate step as we think about something that could be done more immediately, is working with them. It could be folded into Vision 2050. We could work with them on that. But that's the idea, is that we could actually make one of those and work with planning staff so that this sort of development could go in those spaces, wouldn't require such a lengthy process to amend the map, and could be done. He warned it'd be it'd be some work for the city staff to develop it. I don't know that process, but I can believe that there's a lot of steps to do that. But that it's certainly more immediate that we could do than a big grand re-envisioning. Go ahead, Eugene.
Well, as a thought, we could, since we already have section plan in the county and it's kind of defined, we could create a mini section plan over this as an overlay. So conceptually, we already know how to do section plan in Horizon West. So what we do is create a section plan over this area along the whole university. And maybe what we have to do is create enough economic incentive for them to take down the Four Rivers and rebuild it to be a 8 to 12 story with a Four Rivers on the floor, basement floor.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's the big vision, right? Is to your point, Eugene, it's like it's not just a mixed use code, but it's stuff like but you can bake a lot of stuff into that mixed use code. You can bake into that, you can say parking minimums here are lower than the rest of the city, because we think that students can and should be walking or biking or taking the bus. We can do stuff like adjusting setbacks so that development goes right up to the street so that it's welcoming, and there's a larger walkway so that students can walk to campus. Because right now, that even if you live along University or Alafaya, that's a quarter mile. You could easily do it, but that is not an enjoyable walk. And in fact, students don't do it because it's not enjoyable. And so the other side to all this is transportation. Those are state roads. Talking to FDOT about doing road diets over there is take decades, I think. But that's the other piece of it too, is that's I think the benefit of doing the big visionary grand vision of reinventing this. That's how they were able to achieve that in College Park, Maryland, is rethinking the housing, the transportation, the retail, all of that. We can do that. It should take a lot more effort, we need a lot more stakeholders, which is fine. We can go do that in the more immediate term. I think we can accomplish a lot of, to your point, Eugene, doing that overlay and doing it short term with a new zoning code.
Emily, how hard is it to do zoning codes?
Really not hard at all.
Mm.
It's,
So-
we could do whatever, like make up whatever we want, it's just what holds everyone back is the will of the staff and the will of the commissioners. I know I just met with some staff today about, the overlay of the corridor and stuff. And doing something like that. They're doing the Vision 2050, and they believe that what they already have kind of in the works would fit with what we're planning. I told them I didn't think it did though, because we're looking for something more specific, more tailored, more customized. So, I think we'll be getting that report from them, or the draft Vision 2050 in February. At that time, we'll be able to take what we worked with here and then see what they have and then try to implement this into that and edit that.
So go ahead, Austin. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that makes the most amount of sense, is to kind of take this work, refine it, but kind of let it pause a little bit and then see what they come out with, and then try our best to merge the two and fold into the work that they're already doing.
Yeah, I think it's important that you keep communications with, I guess, is Eric a staff member? We gotta keep communications open with staff so they know where we're coming from. So come February, March timeframe, after they publish the 2050, we might be able to then take that and either use that or use a section plan methodology using the basis of the 2050 plan and go forward even farther for a very small sector plan over what we're concerned with. So, but I don't think we want to burn any bridges working with staff. We want to make them happy so they don't fight us. And, I think that would be a good procedure to move forward on. So you've done great. A lot of good information. So
as a next step to that, that's a great point, Eugene. Eric was really into this. I mean, we can even just touch base every now. The tactic here, I can just send him an email every now and say, hey, I just want to check in. Here's what I checked out the College Park thing in Maryland. Here's my thoughts. What do you think? We can just kind of keep that relationship warm, because you're right, that will be very important when that draft comes out in February.
yeah, because we can actually help manipulate a little bit that plan a little bit based on the needs of that, because we don't have anything. We've never approached this in Orange County to do a high density development. They consider the International Boulevard their mecca of high development, which is not. But so this would actually be potentially not only for student housing long term, it could be industry too.
Yeah. Well, and I think about too, this is an aside and not to go back, because I'm fairly ignorant on the previous project y'all were talking about. I'm not in that group, so I haven't known about it, but it's interesting to think about, like, if we have, I don't know if Orange County owns land around there, but these are, I know we all talk about this a lot, but this project and the previous one you all talked about are two sides of the same coin, right? Is we're not putting density here near students, and so it's causing this sprawl out there. Is like, I don't know, is there an opportunity for some sort of land trade or for something where if this land by UCF all of a sudden becomes much more valuable because you can put 5 stories, 6 stories on it? I don't know.
I'm hoping that we can go up even much higher than that, because land right by the university is so valuable. I hate to see a 4 to 6 story. I want to see 12, 16, 18 stories. That road needs to be high density, and thousands of people living on that road to get it to the point where you could support businesses with 1 block of population. So it's
Eugene, you should go read the policy proposal I put in there. Let me know what you think. I think you'd enjoy it.
okay. Let's see, move on to the next thing. Let me get that. Can you scroll down a little bit? Is Kelly in yet? I didn't see her.
So I'm wondering, how did you all get on? Did you get an email saying that you're a panelist with a link?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the panelists?
Yeah, I got like a ticket. It said you have a ticket to be a
Ticket,
panelist.
yeah, ticket.
I
You got a
this
ticket.
URL. I just got a URL and I had to copy it and put it in the URL.
You didn't have to like buy a ticket or register or anything like that, did you?
No.
No?
No,
Okay,
but
yeah, she's having some problems getting in.
it was
Only
really,
I had to create a whole separate account
I
that
did
was
too.
associated with a Zoom account. Instead of using my regular one, it had to be with the one that I use for emails for this group. So now I have 2 Zoom accounts that I really wish I didn't have to have.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had to do. And I actually got so frustrated. I rebooted my machine because it kept on saying wrong account. So I was like, okay, and maybe Kelly needs it, because I logged in initially to my Garbaria account thinking, I had the link from you with the ID, it would work, but no, they wanted me to create a new, and it wasn't clear. I had to create a whole new, just like Ann did. I had to create a whole new email address, my Florida Scrub J along with that. So I got 2 out there again, and hopefully I remember the passwords. I think I wrote them down, but and I rebooted because I kept on trying to log in and it just kept on saying, no, you're associated wrongly. So she might have to reboot and just shut down everything and then come back. So I restarted my machine. At that time it worked. Once I had created the new account for Zoom.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to have you all send Gabriel an email with what email you want him to send the Zoom invites to.
Well, we've all here now, so we got it set up. So for me, let's see. The next thing is,
yeah, I can't see the rest of I think it's Gabriel who's sharing his screen.
NeoCat's meeting announcements by Gabriel farther down. Page 3. I can't change it.
Gabriel, are you still there? I know Gabriel's helping out Kelly right now. Let me try to
You want to try unshare him and you share, or you want me to share? Oh,
yeah, if Eugene, if you have it up, if you could go ahead and share.
Yeah, all panelists can share. Sorry, I'm helping Kelly.
okay.
Well, Gabriel, you heard what we said. So it has to be whatever email you sent it to her. She has to create an account with that email in order to get in.
Yeah, she created the account with that email, and she's working on. Right now, she just rebooted, and so she's working on coming back on.
Okay, that's what I had to do, Gabriel, was reboot the machine. That, I don't know if that was what did it, but that's what it did. Pain in the butt. Trying to get down there. Let me go over here. Let me do a share screen. Okay,
Do y'all have the links for the next
Can you s-
segment?
can you see the my page?
Yeah,
We can see it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, there we go. Let's see, can I zoom this thing out more or not? Can you? So the okay, next one is announcements by Gabriel Neocats. Does anyone have? It's Gable busy still, so you want to go? You want to address some of these, Emily? Because I don't know this stuff.
Okay, all right, so we have we had the Neocats meeting on the 1st, and that is on a study that is for transportation all across the Northeast Orange section, going from about Rouse Road east to Chuliota and north about McCulloch, south to a little bit south of 50. And that presentation there is on the study, on the different areas that are being studied and some of the information that they have at this moment. So that's really good for you all to watch. The link is in the agenda to the PowerPoint. We're going to try to get the link to the video because they did record the meeting.
Yep, and I'm working on that video. Ahmed just hasn't responded yet.
Oh, Kelly's on. Hi. You made it. All right. The dog park. So we had the dog, we're doing a dog park in Wedgefield, and we had the community meeting on the 3rd, which was yesterday. And this is a little image of the design for the dog park. And the community meeting was to get some ideas from the community and what they wanted for the dog park. That definitely has already been funded and is moving forward. Oh, the Neocats one too, that whole study has been funded. That was also part of the deal with the developer to get the grow built. That was one of the requirements of having that development built. Once that's done, I'll be able to get some of my projects I've been wanting to do move forward on some intersection improvements and in the East Orange area. The next item, I can't see with the little thing on it.
Okay, there
Here we go.
Okay, there
The
it is.
bi-weekly newsletter. So we have our newsletter. It's been revived. Thanks for Gabriel's help as well. It's been moved from the emails to our website, emilybonilla.com. So you'll receive, if you're part of the email list, which I hope you all are, you'll receive an email saying to go to the website. There'll be a link for you where you can see the new format of the new newsletter. So that comes out, we're trying to make it on Thursday before the BCC meeting. Vision 2050, we had a meeting today with their consultant, Marina Coward. I don't know how to say her last name. But anyways, I kind of went back and forth with her about their idea of doing hamlets and villages in East Orange County, which is basically clustered development, and how that's just not going to work here. She showed examples of how it's working in Virginia, she showed me one example. In that conversation, she also, Gabriel shared with her the meeting with Austin and the information, the presentation he has on the UCF corridor. And she showed some ideas or examples of something similar happening in other areas too. So definitely when that Vision 2050 comes back to us in the first draft in February, it's going to be very important for us to really get out and digest that document and provide edits so that we can make sure that what we want our district or our county to look like is in there. I'm going to have them do a presentation for us for our D5 NAC meeting in January before we get the draft. That way you guys have kind of a briefing and overview of it before we get the draft. D5 NAC goes on tour 2022. So I came up with an idea that, because, you know, I used to have community meetings across the district and it just hasn't happened in a while, and we had COVID and everything. So I really would love to get back out in the district. And so I thought it'd be great to have our neighborhood advisory council meetings once a month be in a different area of the district. So we could get out there to the people, they could get more involved, and, you know, we engage more with them. And I'm thinking that the public comments you could probably put towards the end, that way they could hear about what you're working on and then provide comments on that.
Mhm.
So that would work out that way. But you guys tell me how you want to work that out. And I could, you know, in our executive committee meetings with Eugene and Kelly, we could discuss that. Redistricting meeting, the next one, which will be in our district is, or it's not the next one, but this is the one that's in our district, is November 15 at 6:30 at the Goldenrod Recreation Center. I definitely would love to have you all there and to make some comments on what you see or how you think we can make the district better by changing the boundaries. Is there anything else, Eugene?
New business.
Okay. How about we move back up for Kelly's section?
Okay. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Number 7, discussion on Orange County Redistricting. Kelly, you want to take this on?
Sure. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I can't see everyone because I'm on my phone, but I don't know if you can see me either, but I made it on Zoom through my phone, not my computer. So I am one of the representatives for District 5 on our redistricting advisory committee. So each districts 1 through 6 has 2 appointees, and then the mayor has 3, and 2 of the mayor's appointees are the co-chairs of the committee. So we've had a series of maps that have been for consideration. A lot of them have been withdrawn and only a couple have been voted down. But in tonight's agenda, we put a couple of links. So the first one is just simply it takes you the OC 2021 redistricting update. It just takes you to the general website. And in the District 5 committee meeting, which is November 15th at 6:30, as Emily said, we really need community participation. Essentially what the thought process that the committee has embraced is that District 5 should remain basically the same as what it is today. And that we should really be focusing our attention on adjusting the boundaries of other districts that have grown more, like District 1, with the growth that's happened there, and District 4 with Lake Nona growth that has happened there. And speaking with Commissioner Bonilla, District 5, it does stand to have some revisions to its boundaries. Currently, right now, it's about 2/3 of the county. It's a really huge district. And it makes it very difficult for the commissioner who is representing that district to get across the district, as well as we see a large variety of, or a very diverse communities. So essentially, like if I could use District 2 as an example, you see like there's Ocoee is partially in District 2 and Apopka, and they kind of like all blend and merge together. Whereas in District 5, you've got everything from like Christmas to the most dense, thick forms of development. And so it's very difficult, I think, to be representative of a community that has so many diverse communities, including rural settlements, unincorporated Orange County areas, as well as incorporated areas. It just becomes difficult. So we do need some revisions to the boundary and to accommodate growth. Every citizen has the ability to submit a map, and on our agenda, you can see that submit a map is highlighted. And there is a software that you can use. It's called Maptitude. And if any resident were to create a map and submit it, it would come to myself or to Wes Hodge, who is the other D5 representative. The only thing is that those maps have to come before the deadline for them is 11/29. So November 29th. If you wanted to make a map yourself, I'm working on a map, which is what I was doing this evening. And I would like to request from the D5 NAC committee, 2 things this evening. The first thing is to come to the 11:15 meeting. Hold on just a second. Baby mama's in a meeting. Okay, I see. That's awesome. Please close the door. Please close the door. I see. That's so awesome. Close the door. Okay, bye-bye. Sorry, guys. So is to do 2 things. One is just to come out to that November 15th meeting, and to speak that, you know, like, hey, we like this, we live in District 5 and we like these boundary changes that are being proposed by Kelly or Wes. And then also, like, once I have the map that I'm going to submit on behalf of Commissioner Bonilla basically ready, if you guys would provide feedback in terms of what you think regarding that map. So so that's an update on the redistricting committee. It's a lot of work, but it's worthwhile work to be doing. And that's it.
Okay, so
All right, great, thanks. Was that everything in your section there?
Yeah, you know what I would kind of like to do is could somebody who is over controlling the agenda click on letter B, maps under consideration?
coming up slowly. Okay,
And then, so we haven't looked at proposals 9 or 10, and proposal 1A had a lot of problems, but proposal 6 looks like a pretty good map. Could you click on that one, Eugene?
oops, wrong one.
No, that's right.
Oh, you want the PD, you want his actual map or the presentation?
Let's look at the map. So I'll tell everybody right here, when you guys click on our agenda on maps under consideration, it gives you those 3 things to look at. One is the legal analysis, and this map met the 5 legal requirements of redistricting. It was submitted by District 6 representative, a former commissioner of the district. And you can see the difference there with like how big District 5 is in comparison. And you can see all of the original district borders by the purple and white dashed line. So he adjusted District 5 a little bit, but
Right there.
can you scroll down, Eugene, where it shows the yellow highlight? It's the 3rd page.
See if I can
This right here, and then make it a little bigger. So what these sheets are showing you, the left column is going to be the current district, and then the right column is the proposed changes. And the software highlights in yellow the significant changes within a district. So in this one, if you go down to Maitland, it's all in alphabetical order. So he moved more of Maitland into District 2. So there's that change with Maitland there. And then I believe he made some significant changes to a place called Holden Lakes, was another one. But just speaking with Emily, one of the things that we were looking at trying to do was to move more of Maitland into 2, and then anything west of I-4 into District 2, which I know is College Park and is Austin's home ground there. But it's a very difficult part of the district for, you know, like, unless a commissioner is coming from that area, it's a difficult, because I don't know, Emily, when you drive from there to Christmas, like what's the length of time? Like close to an hour and a half, probably, with traffic?
Yeah, it definitely is far, like going to Maitland or to like College Park. Those are 2 places I really never get to.
Yeah.
And I mean, if someone was elected from either of those areas too, it'd be really difficult for them to get to Bethel and Christmas.
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, just my thing, and I know I submitted that comment, Kelly, on
Yeah.
College Park, was less that it's not in 5. Well, that one map split it right in half and only took half of College Park, but
Yeah.
that it separates it then from, Audubon Park, Milk District, Mills 50, Thornton Park. There's all those ones that are like, and College Park has nothing in common with anything else in District 2. But I hear you. It's not easy. I mean, I see what y'all have to do every week, and you have a tough job.
Maybe what we do,
You know, the last time I think I was in College Park was for the Fairview library opening, or maybe for one of their neighborhood watch meetings. But before that, when I just went out there just on my own, was after Hurricane Irma to go make sure they were all okay. They were like, oh, we're fine. Like, they were so self-sufficient. I was like, okay, you guys got this. I'm going back over to this load, helping them out then.
Yeah.
well, maybe what the thought maybe is, if we can't get all Maitland stuff, maybe use 1792 as a DMZ and run it down 17, anything west goes into 2, and anything east stays in 5, and then even take the west side of Winter Park from 1792 downward, and then maybe use Fairbanks as another divider or something, bring it down to, maybe that's how we make the argument. That would take some more out of it. I don't know, but we can talk about that.
Yeah. So one of the other things, just Eugene, if you could go up to page 2 of the proposal. So the useful way to look at this data is the yellow shows you significant changes. And then this one, what it does is it's kind of difficult to read, but again, you see like the bottom rows are the proposed map, and then the top rows are the current district. So you see like what the population numbers are. And essentially what we want to have happen is for all of those districts to be around 237,000, 238,000 people. But then you don't want to, then you look at like the distribution of races and ethnicities. And, we try to not have like a white district, for example. You want to see some diversity that would be there, but you also want to ensure that whomever those people are, the majority of the people are that live there, that they could elect somebody who looks like them, essentially, is what you aim for. So you can see what ends up happening, and this example is they've got, he did a pretty good job in terms of like distributing the population across the county, which was a good thing. So anyway, so that's the goal. And all of this is done in that software, the Maptitude, which is right there on the redistricting page. So if anybody has any ideas or anything that they'd like to share, and if I could have free access to your review of what you think when we get a map that we can release, I would really appreciate it. And it's important for, the growth of our district and the voting, who we're going to be voting for in the future.
Yeah, so I say what we're looking for, the action item at this point for this is if anyone wants to be on a work group with Kelly to work on this, to let her know.
We, as a suggestion, maybe we had talked about using that the rec center in Goldenrod. So maybe we can talk about trying to get a small group to meet over there, and we bring all of our laptops and we spend a couple hours over, either, it's probably next week, but I'm here tomorrow, but I'm gone until Monday. So, but we can meet maybe at the center. If Gable, maybe you can set up with Kelly, you're the prime driver because you got a job. I don't have a job. So you just tell me when to be there.
I think you're the only fortunate one to be retired so far, Eugene. I'm not sure.
Well, you're the one that's on the board. So you gave your best times, and then the other folks will fall in line based on what you guys have to work the times out. And then I'll make life fit into it. What you guys say.
I'll get with Gabriel in the next, and probably tomorrow on a time for that. I just need to look at my schedule
I
to
can
figure.
get with you tomorrow at some point too, and we can go over this. I wasn't sure what was going on today. I figured you were busy, so I didn't hear.
Okay.
Okay, so there's one more thing I wanted to say before we move to the next segment, which is the, breakout sessions, which me and Gabriel are very nervous about, but we need to test this out on Zoom and make sure it works. So I'm looking for our next meeting for D5 NAC to be on December 15. It's a Wednesday night. It's the third Wednesday of December. Would that work for most of you? Okay.
I'm free that evening.
All right, so that will be our next D5 NAC meeting. All right, so any actions that we want to remind the group of before we move to our breakout sessions? Okay, so the way we're gonna move into this breakout session, unfortunately, we get out of this, go back to your ticketed event kind of page, and there should be a thing that says join lobby or join the meeting or something, which will be, you should see, I guess, when you go in, like I see 2 events. And so this was the first one. And then the second event will be like, right here is a webinar format. The next one's like a meeting format that has the ability to do breakout groups.
Are we coming back to this after the breakout group?
No.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna stop recording this.